You are listening to the What a Word podcast, an interview style podcast where guests bring their unique experiences and insight on culture, life's challenges, and faith. Each episode is seasoned with words which will inspire and encourage. Now, here is your host, Ryan Sharp.
Someone within the sound of my voice has accepted the negative words and the harsh treatment of others as being normal. They've normalized it. I want you to know today that you are somebody's dream. You're the answer to somebody's problem. And you should know that when you get through this season, your testimony is going to let somebody know that it is not acceptable to be mistreated and spoken to harshly or unkindly. I want you to hold on to the fact that someone believes in you. You have the ability to do more than you can imagine. And if it doesn't come to mind, if nobody has ever said it to you or has not said it to you recently, I want you to know you are somebody's dream. And you are the answer to somebody's problem. My guest exemplifies what impact we can have on others through our kind words, our deeds, and actions. His name is Kingsley Malcolm. He's a nurse anesthetist, and he's also a recording artist. He's the father of 3, and he and his wife started a scholarship a number of years ago called Paid Forward. And they've given out scholarships to the tune of over $60,000 to young men and women who don't have the resources, but needed a hand up, needed somebody to pay it forward. I'm excited by this conversation. He's my high school friend, and this is a catching up of sorts. Please join me in welcoming my guest, Kingsley Malcolm, to the What a Word podcast. Malcolm, welcome to the What a Word podcast.
Yes, man. Thank you for the invite, bro.
So, Kingsley, I think our paths are similar. We were both immigrants to this country in the 80s. Went to the same high school, Mount Vernon High. What was the reasoning behind your coming to this country? Why did your family move to the United States?
Well, my father was a farm worker in the 70s. And he actually at one point ran away, we call it run away, and was working illegally. In the 60s, actually, when I was born, my dad was in America and came back. I think I was probably a year or 2 years old when he came back. But, by him coming here and seeing the opportunities, he wanted the best for his family. And so he had a brother in Florida who either he came down and saw the struggle that, we were going through, or my father expressed to him the struggle. And so he filed for my dad and brought my dad up to America. And then he filed for the family and brought us up. And simply because, he wanted a better opportunity for the kids. Better life.
Oh, man. Powerful. Were you prepared for the first few months of life here in the US? And I ask only because for me, I remembered my first week in the high school and I was not prepared for the cultural difference. In fact, the first day I remembered running to what I believe was the auditorium, expecting to have worship and then go off to classes. My mother never really prepared me. I mean, she prepared me as much as she could, but I didn't understand the whole separation.
Right.
How was it for you?
To be honest with you, I landed at JFK at about 11 p.m. So when I came to the house, it was night. And to be honest with you, when I came here, my dad came here about 2 years before we did. Then my mom came about 2 months before we did, and then we came up in June, actually, 1982. And when we came, we didn't have a place to live. So my first, I would say, month, I actually slept. All of us, 6 of us, slept on the living room floor of one of my dad's friends' house. And then later we got an apartment in a house right next to that house. But so was I prepared? No, because I left a good, comfortable bed in Jamaica and I slept on someone's floor. And I remember my first morning when I woke up, I was excited to see what America looked like, because coming here, I'm thinking streets of gold, everything is, shake a tree and get some money, whatever, that. And I went outside, and when I walked outside, I was shocked. I mean, there were old cars, it was a rundown neighborhood. I was like, what in the world? It was like a concrete jungle kind of thing. And I went back upstairs and I said to my mom, I said, when's the next flight back to Jamaica? I want to go home. And I didn't want to stay here. So that was my first initial, the school situation. I came in June, so I was here for the summer before school in September. And for the first, I would say, first 6 months of school, I didn't actually speak in class. When I came here, I was supposed to go to 7th grade. And my dad took me to the school to do some pre-test or whatever. And they gave me some questions. They would ask me about Snow White and the Yellow Brick Road, Dorothy, and I was like, I don't know what this stuff is, right? Yeah. So they said I wasn't prepared for 7th grade because I wasn't aware of their culture. So they went back to 6th grade. Went back to 6th grade, and the kids would make fun of my accent and the way I look, and so I didn't speak. Much at all in the 6th grade. And to be honest with you, I think the only class I passed in 6th grade was gym. But the counselor called me and said, look, you have potential. I'm going to pass you on to 7th grade, even though you failed every class. And that was huge because, in life, sometimes you just need someone to believe in you. And the counselor said to me, she said, I'm going to be tracking you all the way to high school. And so knowing that now there was someone that was watching me and believed in me, gave me that hope to say, hey, you know what? Push through, right? So 7th grade, 8th grade, I then hit the B and A honor roll, and things just kind of, pick up for me.
That's awesome, man. Yikes. So it's like a culture shock, and you've amplified it correctly, man. And listen, I'm so proud of where you are now, because you and I could speak for hours on our early experience.
Yes.
But listen, man, I'm so proud of how things turned out for you with grace and determination. And I'm sure a lot of individuals who took an interest in you and your potential, man. You are now in a place where you are creating a legacy now. I want you to speak a little bit about the scholarship that you and your family started for, I guess, with people in mind like yourself who just needed a hand up.
Right. Yeah. So, in life, the Creator sends people your way to show you the way, because, there's no roadmap in this thing called life, right? I remember when I was living in Kansas City after high school, and I was working I was doing psych work, the psych aide, and I was in school, and I was sharing with someone that I wanted to get into University of Kansas nursing program. And there was this LPN, tall brother, like 6'6", big guy. He came over to me and he said, you want to go to KU nursing school? He said, that's a difficult program. I said, no, yeah, I want to do it. He said, look, if you get into that program, bring me your acceptance letter and I'll pay for your first year tuition. And I was like, what?
Wow.
I'm serious. So again, someone who believes in you and give you a little bit of hope. So I buckled down, I was hitting the books, got accepted into the program. I brought him the letter. He wrote me a check. And I was like, yo, look, it's going to take me a couple of years to start making some money. How can I pay you back? He said, don't pay me back. Paid forward to someone else. Apparently his aunt did something similar to him. And so, he planted that seed in me. And so I, went to nursing school, successful there. Years later, went back to do anesthesia, got my master's in anesthesia, and moved to upstate New York. And my wife and I, we out doing our afternoon or evening walk. And it just hit me that, hey, it's time for us to start to give back now. And so we named the scholarship, paid for it scholarship. And we kicked it off with one of my friend who's an orthopedic surgeon. I shared it with him what I was doing, and he's like, hey, I want to be a part of it. And so we came together, we did different functions to raise money, and connected with the local school. And over the, I would say now I think we've gone over $60,000 in scholarships. And recently we've moved the scholarship online to my daughter, who is now a YouTube influencer doing very well, has a platform where she promotes the Ivy League and higher education she's pretty much just kicked the door down so that Black and brown kids can see the inside of the Ivy League institution. And so this year we've awarded the $6,000 in scholarships to students who applied through her website. And we had, I think we awarded kids going to Yale, Harvard, Brown, Penn, and University of Georgia. So, it's all about, for us, someone gave me a hand up, and I believe that, too much is given, much is expected. So we're trying to impact the lives of young people, especially brown and Black people, to, open the door for them so they can go on and, lift others up too.
This is awesome, man. Did this gentleman go up to heaven after he did what he did for you? Sounds like an angel, man.
Well, if he's not there when I'm to get there, I'm gonna pull him up. I'm gonna find him.
No, this is awesome, man. This is like, you hear stories of miracles, like living, walking miracles, and this is indeed a testament to, just an act of kindness that is having a long-lasting impact, not only impacting you, but your family and generations to come.
That's right. Yeah.
Music always seemed to be pulling at you, though, throughout all of your studies with nursing, and as you indicated, 11 years now focusing on anesthesia. There was some always recording music throughout this time. When did love for music start?
To be honest with you, the love for music, I think it's from I was a kid. That my neighbor growing up, he used to have a little guitar, and he would sit outside and just play his Bob Marley music, and and I've always sit back and go, man, one day I just wish I could sing like Bob, and I remember one day we were at a tent revival, and I realized that when I was there, I would just be pulled to the band, I was just watching the drummer or the bass or and my parents always have us singing in church, and when I came to America, joined the choir, and our choir was White Plains Youth Choir. We did a lot of touring, went to Jamaica, toured. But then when I left high school, I had no clue. I had no focus. I had no career aspirations. I moved out to Kansas City because I had a friend of mine out there. And my only goal going to Kansas City was I pray that I find a group that I could connect with and start singing. And I did that. The funny thing though, is that growing up in Jamaica, even though reggae music is our music, I wasn't really exposed to it.
Come on, talk about it, man.
I was exposed to country music. So I came to America and I started here, at home, only country music would play. At church, we'd hear some gospel. But reggae was never, a thing.
It was almost taboo.
It was taboo. And I'm gonna hit you with something. So I went out to Kansas City and I wanted to do music. And so I found this group. I heard them perform at this event, and I was like, man, these guys are awesome. So I went up to the band leader. I said, hey, I like to sing, man. I would love to know if I could try out for your group. So they said, yeah, I want you to show up at so-and-so time at this place. So I showed up. It was 4 guys. One of the guys went on to actually tour with R. Kelly. They said, okay, well, let's see what you could do. So I started to sing and they all started laughing because all I knew was country. Right? So he said, this is like an R&B, rhythm and blues kind of gospel kind of vibe group. So like, dude, you sing, what kind of style is that? You know what I'm saying? So I started, so they said, hey, look, so one of the leaders said, look, we'll give you a chance. I think you have potential. So I started bringing a little recorder to rehearsal. And I would record this one guy, his name was Maurice. And this guy was like a Stevie Wonder on, it was just amazing. And another cat was Raphael, just amazing singers. So I started to record them. And I would, on my way home, I would listen to them. I listened through the week. I learned their runs. I learned their riffs. And then after a while, I started to find a different vibe, like a different me, in music. And then, we toured, we almost got signed with a couple labels, did very well. We sang for Jesse Jackson, done a lot of things. But then the group broke up and one guy decided to go to Oakwood to be a pastor. Another one decided to go on toward R. Kelly, and another one decided. And so here I was like, okay, so what am I going to do? So I went and I bought a keyboard for $2,000. Don't know how to play the keyboard, but I said, I'm gonna teach myself because I wanted this thing. So I started just to, tinkle and learn how to play. And then all of a sudden I realized that, I was doing a lot of cover songs. And then I'm like, well, why am I singing other people's songs? So I then started to learn to write. And this is all doing, the school process. And then I released my first album, and it did very well and impacted a lot of people. And life happens. You have family, and you have to prioritize things, and
Yeah.
And but then I moved to Nashville. I did a talent competition and was a runner-up, and they were like, "Guy, you got to come to Nashville." So I went to Nashville, lived there for 8 years, did a lot of music there as well. And that was the first place, believe it or not, that I found myself.
How so?
I was doing some voiceovers, not voiceovers, some background vocals in the studio for a guy. And they were like, hey, man, well, this guy called me and said, hey, someone told me about you, that you can do some reggae stuff. And So I said, yes. I went in the studio and I cut the tracks for him. And I was like, that felt good. And I was able to put a reggae band together. And we started doing different events. And we started our name just started to spread across the Ville. And I was like, man, this is me. All these years I've been searching, and I finally found who I was. My identity in music was reggae. And, but the journey was long, man, because, it's like someone put a wool over you, and say, hey, no, don't expose who you are, And so you take years to try to take that off and realize that, I'm not a, R&B is not my thing. That's not my culture. It's not how I tell my stories. It's not how I can relate. Country is not how I can relate. Even though they have great, as a songwriter, country music helped me as a songwriter to tell stories. So there are benefits in each one of the genres. But to find the space that really I can fit was reggae music. So that's kind of Nashville, kind of weird how country was kind of my origin. And I went to a country city to find who I was.
Yeah.
But so that's kind of how the reggae, and every time I did a CD, I always drop a reggae song on there. There's always a reggae song on there, or one or two, until now I've just pretty much, most of the stuff I'm doing now is just pretty much just conscious reggae stuff.
Well, it's an interesting point because I think culturally, you seem to indicate that you found your authentic self, but and listeners will know you and I, same faith community, but for many communities of faith, the music is taboo. Yeah. I mean, even for people who that's their culture, their history comes from that music. We're socialized to believe that it has no place in terms of our music expression. Right. And you're learning, and I've learned as well, that this was not true. It's
I was doing some house cleaning one Sunday morning, and I had some chronic song, and I was listening, and man, I was in a spiritual place, and I was like, why was this music taboo? Why were we like, our family, our culture didn't embrace this music? And a small voice whispered in my ear and said to me, country music was the music of the slave masters.
Come on.
And for the slaves to feel as if they have arrived, or what they strive to, how they strive to arrive, is to do what the master does.
Sure.
So embracing country music was part of their meeting their aspiration of becoming like the slave master. And reggae music was a music of exposing the slave master as a fraud.
That's it.
And so the system was to know you have to suppress that. So it was taught through our culture, our religious institutions, to strangle the music of the oppressed so that they can remain oppressed.
Wow. And when you talk about finding yourself, I watched and I've listened to the song, What is Life? Not only does it have a hopeful theme, but as you've identified in that session you hear the music and it does something to lift your spirit. Even before the lyrics come in, the melody, the intro has a way of, the effect it has on me anyway is just to say, you can be hopeful. Mm-hmm. The chorus says, what is life? Today you're here, tomorrow you're gone. You know what I mean? but it has a hopeful theme filled with possibilities. It screams resilience. How did that song come about? And why in this season did you write What is Life?
You know, to be honest with you, man, it's, you know, being in the healthcare, you know, field, you see death and dying is, you know, I bring people to death door every day, right? And I see, you know, people don't come to surgery because they're healthy. Everyone I put to sleep is because there's something that's not right. And you see a lot of things, you know, you take a patient into the operating room and from the outside, they look great. And you go on the inside and you see, wow, you know, and it kind of helped me realize that, you know, this thing called life is a gift. And a lot of times we take it for granted, thinking that, you know, we'll be here for forever, right? At the same time, I had, you know, close family members and friends that had recently passed. And I think just the culmination of all of that just hit me one day. And I was like, man, you know, you gotta just start to just enjoy the moments, you know, make the best of every moment, because you're not guaranteed anything. And I think too, one of the crutch that I think, you know, religion, and I say religion, I'm world religion, that help prevent us from maximizing how we can function in this life, is the promise of something after. Oh, well, I'll do this. Well, we don't know what the after is. We have faith and we have hope, but our faith and hope doesn't make anything real. All we have right now is this thing called life.
Right.
You know, and I think that the Creator gave us this thing called life for us to make the best of it. You know, to laugh, to play, to help, to love, to manifest, to grow, to achieve. And I think that when we do that, regardless of what happens after, it doesn't really matter, because you've done your very best and become your very best that you can right now. You know, and I think that's, you know, to answer the question, you know, it's kind of a loaded answer I gave you there, but it was just a lot of things that was happening around me that really pushed that song out of me, you know.
Enough people so confused, they don't know what to do. They keep asking this question, what is life? What is life? Today you're there, tomorrow you're gone. What is life? What is life? Today you're there, tomorrow you're gone. What is life? What is life? Today you're there, tomorrow you're gone. What is life? What is life? Today you're there, tomorrow you're gone. Life is to live. Oh, life
watched the video a few times, and the young lady asked the first gentleman who comes into focus, what is life? It's not such a simple question. And I think you took some patience with laying out some answers in the song itself. Why is that question, which seems on the surface so simple, so deep?
I think because people don't take the time to actually ask that question, right? We're here and we think that, well, I think what happens, we've been told so many things, right? That we've been told what life is, in a sense of, well, life is, to do whatever. For instance, our forefathers, were told the essence of their life is to work the fields, right? So their definition of life is the plantation.
That's it.
Right? No, so they didn't learn to ask, well, what should I really be doing with this life? Am I here to, am I supposed to, and the thing is that not everyone has the opportunity and the blessing to ask that question and actually try to fulfill whatever answers they come up with. So we're in a special place in this time and in this place to ask that question and actually have the resources and ability to manifest that.
Yeah.
So when I sit back and think about, what is life? What is it? What's my purpose? At the end of my days, if I can look back, am I going to be able to say that, hey, I've lived my best life? And how did I do that? And for me, it's love. I on one of the CDs I had a song called Spread Love, because I think love is the answer for everything. And it's simple but complicated. The question seems as if it's a straightforward, but it all depends on also what perspective you're looking at it, right? And I try to choose. I've chosen the perspective of looking at life as a gift that I've been given to shape and become the best that I can be, and from that help others to do the same.
Powerful, man. I want you to speak to listeners about legacy and what you're seeing now in terms of even what's happening with your own children.
Legacy. I think that a lot of Black children, and I would say Black people, we were not taught about who we are. And so the idea of legacy doesn't really live in us because we don't have a history. The only time you can understand legacy is if you understand your history, right? And so I was fortunate to have some time to really study and learn about the powerful kingdoms of Songhai and Mali and the powerful African kingdoms that laid the foundation for us as African people, and that most of the slaves that were brought to America came from the fallen Songhai Empire. It was just an event in time where Africa was the kingdom was falling while Europe was kind of coming up. So but understanding where you're coming from can help shape where you're going. And so I understood that my forefathers came from greatness. And so with that, I instill in my children that they are seeds of greatness. And there's nothing that you can't accomplish because your forefathers were able to accomplish greatness. So, when my first daughter was, I think 2 years old, I would study with her, when she would, actually from she was a baby, I was in school when she was born, and I would study with her. She'd wake up at 2 a.m. I would be out there and she'd be studying. I would take her to class with me. And one night I was up studying, and like the Spirit said to me, tell your daughter she's going to go to Yale University. I had no reference, but I started to speak that because that was the beginning of trying to build a legacy, to reinstitute the legacy, right? And my daughter did apply to Yale. She didn't get into Yale, but she did get into 3 of the other Ivies and about 15 colleges. She went to Wharton, the top business school in the country, and was awarded the most influential student. When she went to Wharton, awesome. She realized that there was no Black institution that brought all the Ivy League students together. So she started what's called the Black Ivy League Conference. And every 1 week in a year, they'll bring all the business students from all the Ivy Leagues to UPenn, and they'll bring in different companies to speak with them. One of the big banks on Wall Street one year gave her $50,000 towards the conference. And so that has continued to be a legacy at UPenn that she started. My second daughter also is in her senior year at UPenn, and she went there and started as an influencer on YouTube. She actually, her acceptance video to Penn actually have something like 2 million views, and that opened a door for her to capitalize on that. And so she's gone to all the Ivy League schools and interviewed students, professors, interviewed she actually have a new video coming out with one of the admission officers at one of the universities, giving kids tips of how to shape the application, what curriculums to do to get into these higher education. She was also on Good Morning America, featuring her projects, and American Greed. She did American Greed about the college scandal, building a legacy of giving back, breaking down the walls, showing other people opportunities that they can achieve. And my son, he's at University of FIU in Florida on a pre-med track. And, and he's also a musician, an amazing producer. So legacy, the idea for me is you have to first understand who you are and to continue being who you are or better. And so for me, I was fortunate to reconnect with my African ancestry and reimplant that into my children. And I've told them that in our family, I was the last one to ever experience poverty. No one else in the chain of this family will ever again experience poverty.
Wow.
So that's the legacy.
That is powerful, man, and compelling, because considering what you told us in the beginning about your early experience in this country, this is a total shift now for in terms of the experience of your own children.
Exactly.
That is powerful, powerful, powerful. Any anecdotes from what you've done with Paid Forward in terms of responses of recipients that you'd want to share with listeners? How has the efforts of you and your family impacted or shaped the lives of others who have received the generous donations?
Oh man, oh.
We have 3 hours.
No, I mean, to sum it up, man, really, I mean, when you help others, it's a seed that you plant, and you don't, one of the things that we've practiced is that we don't give to get, right? Because when you do that, sometimes you get disappointed, right? So we give, and we just give because that's what we're supposed to do. In that, the love, the appreciation that comes back is unbelievable. These kids would, send us cards, years later, letting us know how much, what we did for them, how appreciative they are and where they are. Was one young lady, we gave her a scholarship, and she is now on Broadway doing musicals, production. And, just to see this young girl who was at the time running the high school auditorium sound system, to now live in her dream. It's just great. We have a young man in that we also sponsoring in China in med school, from Jamaica, that is doing well. A young man who very smart, but didn't have any opportunities in Jamaica. Someone sent me the newspaper clipping, and we're like, hey, okay, let's help this guy. Let's help him. Wow. Because I know that there are so many young men like you and I. And the only difference between us and them is that we had an opportunity. Yeah. That they didn't have, And so if I can create an avenue or a way to give one more child, a chance, an opportunity, I'm game, because this life, going back to what is life, this life is not just about me. My life is supposed to be used to impact as many other lives as possible, so that the spirit flows in and flows out. Love flows in and flows out. And if I'm living in the spirit and love, I should flow in and flow out and bless as many people and help as many people as I can. So that's part of the legacy, man.
I heard Better Days. Mm-hmm. And I don't know if you have another single more recent than that one, but if you don't, you can talk about Better Days.
Yeah, I don't actually. That's the last one I did. Okay. And COVID has really kind of rocked us all. And I'm gonna go back a little bit, because when I released What Is Life, I didn't want to release it because it was right at the beginning of COVID, and I held on to it. And a friend of mine, you probably remember Chris Williams, Miguel. You remember Miguel?
Yes, man.
He has he's a DJ on a internet radio down in the city, and so I'd shared it with him, and before I released it, and he's like, "Man, you got to drop this, man. You got to drop it." And I was like, "Well, man, so much suffering going on in the world right now. It might not sit well with people, And he's like, "Look, I think you should drop it." And I did. Now, months after that, I'm sitting there and I'm watching the inauguration. And saw Justin Timberlake and Ann Clemens perform Better Days. And I was just like blown away. Because the thing is, it was so well done and produced that I couldn't hear it any other way. Like if I was gonna do it in R&B, that's how I would do it. All right. And I'm sitting there and I'm digesting this, and then I just heard the flip of reggae. And the words are so powerful. I'm like, man, my people need to hear this. My Jamaican brothers and sisters need to hear these lyrics in a way that they can relate to it,
Sure.
And, when you talk about the lyrics, better days are coming, I know you've been kicked down, stepped on, that's us, man. And that song is just not just a COVID song. It's our song.
Yeah.
We've been left out.
Sure.
But better days are coming because people like you, people like me, it's our responsibility to help make that better day come for someone else.
Wow. Powerful, man, powerful. Kingsley, please give us your links, how to connect. Please include as well ways listeners can support your scholarship fund. Say a little more about it if you can, if you need to. And just share with us how to connect with you.
Yeah, well, the scholarship fund, my wife and I, we've been blessed to where we've, for I think the last 8 years, we've solely funded the scholarship. We don't have a way open for people to, donate to the scholarship. That's you kind of brought that as we might open that up as a possibility so people can give to the scholarship to help others. But for students, parents that are listening, they can go to dominiquecynthia.com. That's my daughter's website. And on her website, they can find the link to the paid forward scholarship. Also, I would encourage any sisters, brothers that have young kids, high school, middle school, that are interested in the higher education. Check out her website. She has links that interview students from all the Ivy League schools that will give you tips how to take the next step. So definitely Dominique Cynthia on YouTube is a channel link that you can go and check out all her links to her videos. All my music is on Apple Music, on Amazon, all the music outlets. You can find the latest Better Days. You can just put in Better Days Kingsley or What is Life Kingsley, and those will come up. I do have I'm not a big social media person. I do have Instagram but my other life is just consuming. And to be honest with you, I do music not to make money. I don't do music to, I do music because I love doing it, and I believe that the Creator has, He will give me insights and wisdom musically to share with people, and I go in and I'll produce and cut the music, and I release it, and I'll push it for a little bit, but I have I have a career that feeds my
Very
family.
demanding.
It's very demanding. So but I do that, and I've been so blessed. I was in Jamaica back in June, and I met a promoter that promote Chronics and Lucci, and she's like, hey, you can come and tour when things open back up and open up for us, and I said, that'd be great if we can work it out, so but again, I have a career. I'm a career man, and music is my love. I do that, and when I can go out and do it, I do it, and I really enjoy doing it, uplift others and motivate people. So that's kind of why my social media is not popping like everyone else, because I, I have a demanding life. But you can always find my music on some videos on YouTube and Apple Music and all the other music outlets. You can find
They just use Kingsley in the search.
Yes, use Kingsley in the search. Yeah.
Powerful, bro. Thank you so much for sharing with us. A lot of really good nuggets, man. Someone is probably where you started, maybe a young person who is trying to figure out their direction, and that person is not getting the hand up or the assistance, or they don't have the resources, and they need encouragement. Like you and I, they probably didn't envision their future, but through grace and the assistance of others, we can probably tell them, don't give up where you are, because a better day is coming. What would you say to that person, Kingsley, about, where things could go and hope?
I would tell any young people listening that your path is you're going to be okay. Your path is set. Life is like a river, and if you ever watch a leaf on a river, the leaf don't try to come off. It just stays on the river and allow the river to just take it down to wherever its destination is, right? I think a lot of times we try to get off and try to, make our own path and, cut our own way through the woods. And then we get all bruised up and banged up, and we say life is rough, right? But to stay on the river, I've come to realize that in life, when within yourself, you find resistance, when you're trying to make choices or making decisions, and you find resistance. If you find resistance, that means you're trying to come off the river, right? You should always be the place of calm, steady. Young people, I would, there are people out there that is placed along your journey to help you. The thing is, a lot of times we don't take the time to see them or listen to them. I'll give you one example. In my sophomore year in college, I was in chemistry. And, you were the smart guy in school. I wasn't the smart guy. We used to call you scientist because you were the brains, right? So,
oh boy, I wish I lived up to that reputation.
It's funny because you were a scientist and I'm ended up being a scientist. But I was in chemistry. And, I was sitting in the back because I wanted to check out all the girls and check out the views and pass notes to girls and numbers. And my first exam, I got a 62. My professor came to me and he said to me, "How many hours do you study for my class?" I said, I don't know, an hour, 45 minutes, I don't know. He said, "Well, listen, you have to put in 4 hours every night in my class if you want to pass." I said, 4 hours? I was like, man, I'm taking 12, 13 credit hours. I work full time. I don't have time, you know. He said to me, listen, you also have to move from where you're sitting. He said, because when I speak, by the time it get to you, half of the information is gone because you're distracted. He said, you need to move and come sit right in the front. So when I speak, it falls right in your ear. I was like, okay. Sometimes in life, you have to listen to those who know. Because if you knew, if you had all the knowledge, you wouldn't be where you are. Sometimes I have to listen to those who have the knowledge. So I moved and sat in the front. And I started studying 4 hours a day. And that professor changed my life by unlocking the secret to college. Because I didn't know how to study before. And once I started applying those principles, I aced the class and every class after.
Wow.
So there are people along your journey that is there to help guide you. But you have to, and sometimes the guidance is hard, but you got to trust those who've been there to guide you and not trust yourself. Sometimes you have to believe in someone else's dream of you or in you because they see the potential that you don't see.
Sobering and powerful all at the same time, man. Wow. Because, you know, you wonder how many of us may have missed opportunities because it didn't come dressed up the way we were expecting it to.
Exactly.
Powerful word, powerful. Kingsley, thank you so much for the time and the nuggets, man. I will possibly play a couple tracks from both songs, What is Life and Better Days, at segments in the podcast episode. But thank you so much, man, again, for sharing of your experience, your wisdom, and I'm thankful for your legacy as well. And I look forward to the journey. Thank you for being a guest again on the What a Word podcast.
Hey, thank you, man. Thanks for what you're doing. And thanks for the invite.
Appreciate it, bro.
Yeah, man. We have to catch up on another time off the ear kind of thing. And
Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed.
Yes.
There's a light at the end of the tunnel. Keep your eyes on the road.